Sometimes you gotta be careful what you wish for. For years we wanted more people out on the water fishing. Now, it seems like lakes never get a rest. The good news is the DNR is managing waters in a more progressive fashion and taking care of our precious fish populations to ensure a good experience for all. But it takes a lot of hard work, surveys, studies, and in turn educating the public about the best ways to conserve our natural resources. As anglers, we can all play a part in making sure our waters keep producing both numbers and size of our favorite fish, like being mindful of bag limits and practicing catch and release where it makes sense. Today we join Al and James Lindner on a natural lake in mid-fall as they chase largemouth bass on a variety of baits and discuss the state of fishing today and offer insights based on a long history in the sport. It's going to be an information-packed show you're not going to want to miss. Join us as we dissect fishing today.
Nice looking fish, pretty healthy. Looking good, Jim, looking good. Hey, I gotta share something with you. You know, we live in central Minnesota. Why central Minnesota? Well, I gotta share a little story with you. Many years ago, my brother Ron and I had a dream. Our dream after I came back from Vietnam was to move up north, either in Wisconsin or Minnesota or Michigan, buy a small resort, open up a bait and tackle shop, and become fishing guides. That was our dream. And after we got out of Nam, I got out of Nam, we looked all over the country. We ended up picking central Minnesota. And the reason for that was really simple. The amount of lakes in the area that we call home, and the diversity of fishing. Within an hour's drive of where our office is, we have access to phenomenal muskie fishing, pike fishing, largemouth, smallmouth, walleye, crappie, bluegill, trout, catfish, you name it, and we've got lakes that have these fantastic fishing opportunities spring, summer, fall, and winter. It's been one of the best decisions we ever made in our life. The area that we're in today, after 50-something years of fishing every lake in the area just about that has an access, things have changed a lot. These lakes have changed a lot for a lot of different reasons. The fishing pressure in this area, like many places in the country, is very, very heavy. Intelligent fishing pressure. And we've got lots of guides in the area, lots of tournaments going on all of these lakes. Things have changed. We're dealing with invasive species that are coming into these lakes. The lakes have changed a lot since we first moved here that many years ago. So regulations have to change to keep up with it. The fishing is still very good, but looking into the future, there's some things that are being done to make sure it stays that way. We're on one of our favorite lakes to go dabble around. It's 15 minutes from our office door. And well, I'll talk a little bit more about this lake and some of the regulations after we start setting the hooks up. Jim, you ready?
Yeah, I would say we got to get rolling here. Time is getting short. It is fall. It's starting to slip into cold weather. Like in the next month and a half, this lake will be frozen. This is right where Rich Borst would have went.
Oh, got him, got him.
Not a bad
Little
one.
swim jigging around the end of the pads. Little swim jigging along the end of the pads. Yeah, I mentioned earlier we were talking about all the lakes that are right around the area we live in. We went out, we were on one of the bigger lakes where we started, we caught a few fish. Wind was horrendous. You can't tell, you know, when you're watching from where you're at, but it was bad. Bad, bad, bad. And the bite wasn't real good. So James said, let's just hop around. You know, we got all kind of lakes right around us, a flip of a coin. So we got to go to a smaller lake that's going to be colder. Yeah, you know, and let's see what that bite is. Got him.
Another one?
little better one.
Better one?
Little bit better one. Oh, come here, baby. They're growing up, Jim. They are growing up. Oh, fucking their tongue. Look at that. That's a pretty nice one. They got nice color to them here. You got one too?
Yep. Ooh. Whoa. Yep. You know, right now we're fishing in fall. And it's sort of interesting, right? In this water temperature we got going right now, it's 54 degrees, and what happens, it's really nice when you get that first temperature drop. A lot of the fish that are spread out within these big lily pad fields and slop areas drain off to the edges, and it makes for some really fun fishing.
That didn't take long. We had 3 of them in no time. You didn't even have to start the motor. Yeah, you know, I'm throwing, ones I had are on this 360 GT. This is the 4, you know, the 4-incher size. Catch a lot of fish on this thing. A lot of them. This thing has been an amazing bait, that GT. The 3-inch change, 4-inch change, the 5-inch change for big pike, even muskies and small lakes. This is on a rod almost all the time when I'm fishing moving baits.
You haven't seen pickles until you've been in Bay Lake.
Huh?
You've never seen pickles until you fished Bay Lake.
Better
Good
one,
one,
Jim.
There you go.
You too?
Yep. Yeah.
Got it?
Little guy.
Ooh, look at this baby, huh? Woo! Oh, come on, gal.
A better one.
Come here, yeah. Yeah, come here. Ugh. Oh man, the fish are getting pushed out of that shallow cover really, really, really good. You know, I was saying earlier, the reason I moved to where we moved and living a dream is the amount of lakes that we have in our backyard. It's such a blessing to have so much water to fish for so many good fish, whether largemouth, smallmouths, walleyes, muskies, pike, trout, catfish, goes on and on and on. But with the knowledge base that has been spread all over the country, the electronics that we have today, the knowledge of how to use them, find fish fast, the knowledge has skyrocketed from when I came here at the 50-something years ago and started fishing. We were the only ones on the lake. And other than a handful of guides out of a place called the Nisswa Guides League that we developed, and I learned how to fish and fine-tune a whole lot of my skills on these lakes in my hometown area for multi-species. But again, with all of the knowledge that's available today, the resources have to be managed a lot different than we've ever managed them before. Yeah, you know, just too much pressure. And that's in spring, summer, fall, and you know, even winter.
Over recent years, the Minnesota DNR has set up special regulations on a lake-by-lake basis. The thinking is, lakes are individuals and need to be managed accordingly. Here are some examples of what we're talking about. When it comes to pike fishing, the state has been broken down into 3 zones. Each of the zones has a unique slot limit specifically designed for that region. All 3 areas have different strategies to improve or maintain quality pike fishing. Muskies are basically catch and release, unless you get one over 54 inches. And honestly, I don't know a muskie fisherman who'd ever keep a fish that big. When it comes to bass, we are seeing more and more lakes that are total catch and release. And many heavily pressured walleye fisheries have different slots, which encourages the sustainability of larger fish. Now, when we're talking about panfish, many lakes have had reduced bag limits. All of these are good for angling. In general, the thought process is, let's protect lakes before they get demolished by overharvesting by setting rules and regulations on a lake-by-lake basis. So that being said, the next time you go out fishing, you better know the rules of the water, and it's simply spelled out on the Minnesota DNR website and at the landing.
As I was saying, you know, where we used to have regulations that were like carte blanche, or, you know, all across our lakes, today it's not that way. A lot of the lakes in Minnesota are managed lake by lake, so you got to really be aware of the rules and regulations. You know, and it's sort of interesting because we got a couple of guys at the office that actually work on some committees. One, Mike Hayner, works on the Panfish committee, and then Jeremy Smith works with the muskies a lot. And they're on like just a DNR roundtable, and it's sort of interesting. They're really working on to better our panfish lakes, and we're working on a lot of different slot limits and different programs to change and hopefully enhance our panfish populations.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. Panfish are probably our most popular and harvested species in the state, least managed up until recently. Just think about it, their season's open year-round. You can fish them on their beds. In the wintertime, they congregate in big schools, so they're very vulnerable to harvest. And on top of that, panfish up here in the North Country are slow-growing critters. I mean, you get up around from our area north to the border, a 10-inch bluegill might be 10, 11 years old. A 12-inch crappie might be 10, 11 years old. So it takes a long time to grow these fish to a big size. And if you pull all these big fish out of the lake in 1 year of fishing, they don't just come right back. It takes a long time to grow them. So right now, the Minnesota DNR is working on more panfish regulations. Right now in this book, there's probably 70 some lakes on here that are special reg for panfish, reduced bag, size limits, etc. And they're working on the bluegill side of things to get it up to like almost 200 lakes. So it's slowly coming around, but we need to harvest less of the big panfish to keep a good fishery in our state. But special regs are by no means a cure-all. We can put regulations on lakes all we want, but if there's no buy-in from the anglers, then they're not going to work. So it's up to us as anglers to understand how these systems work, understand why we need big panfish in the lake, and shouldn't keep all the big ones, should keep smaller ones, and throw back the big ones to keep the lake balanced and healthy.
Really weird.
Water's a lot clearer in here, ain't it?
Really weird weeds in here.
That wind riled all that stuff up out there.
Oh, there's one. Oh, nope. Nope. Good little guy. Huh. One thing I can say, they're biting pretty good. You know, one thing you look at, like all the cover that we're fishing, normally in the summer, this really gets really grown up, and there's so much weeds actually around. Once the weeds start dying off, that water temperature hits in the 50s, low 60s, and the weed starts dying off, and makes it a lot easier fishing because the density of the weeds aren't as thick. And the fish have the tendency to set up on any really distinct edges, whether it be a pad edge, you have a drop off, you know, a dump off or in the deeper water. Then you have like coontail mats that, coontail is a specific type of weed that has a tendency to maintain longer in the colder water. But it just makes it a lot easier fishing. We're just doing classic target, shallow water bass target fishing. Just move along and you're just fan casting at anything you see that forms a good edge. Ooh. Whoa. Yep. Came a lot of fish out farther.
Spread, that's the end. They're spreading all over.
Yeah. Fish are spread out. But the other thing that's really probably the most important, these fish realize in the not so distant future it's going to get really super cold, and they start feeding really, really good at this time of the year.
You know, this is a cast and crank bite. You're fishing all moving baits, spinner baits, vibrating big jigs, swim jigs, that 360, the big one. A lot of moving baits. Yeah, you know, in some areas every now and then you'll throw a jig or something in there, but basically a moving bait. The way we're fishing, as fast as he's fishing, we're covering water, and you just cover a lot of water with a good. He's got a good fish there.
There's a big one there. Whoa, whoa. Come here, buddy. Man, he's a toughie. I thought he was a lot bigger than what he was. It's not a bad one though.
I got one too.
What's that?
I got one too.
You got one too?
Mine's a pickle.
Huh. Came on the old famed Terminator spinnerbait. Classic presentation for catching bass at this time of the year. That's a nice fish.
I think I don't know if it's a, no, it's a pike. A little bass.
Right now we're just fishing along the edge of a pad line, but then it tapers down and you actually have the deeper weeds. And what we've been doing, Al's been just really targeting the really distinct pad edge, and I've been taking the Terminator spinnerbait and just slow rolling it off the edge of the pads out into deeper water. Those fish are just, when they start draining off these flats, it's really common to catch bass will pile up in some of these areas like that. But I like a big bait too. A lot of times you'll notice that we're actually throwing pretty good sized profile baits, larger lures, whether it be a spinnerbait, a bladed jig. You can see I have my shallow water highlighted down to 5 foot. And this is, the green is deeper, but you can see what I'm casting the spinnerbait over. It's just those rolling coontail mats out in deeper water, right beyond the edge of the deeper lily pads.
Got him. Good one, Jim.
Got him?
Yeah, bass, way up on the sand. I thought it was bigger than it was. I was way up on that sand. Come there, Junior. Like Jim said, ooh, look at that rock there. Did you cast over that rock?
No.
You didn't? You left that for me?
Yeah.
I'll take it. Catching them all sizes. You know, this is really a fun way to fish. Drop the troll, cast moving baits, fast moving baits. It's all bait casting. None of this is finesse. You know, everything we're throwing, I'm using 7 foot medium power St. Croix Elite, 17-pound test fluorocarbon Suffolks, and they're Dioazillion, all spooled up, ready to go. This is just fun fishing. Cast and retrieve. You get a bite, you know, you want to come back on it. Every once in a while, doing this stuff here, you catch a lot of fish, boom, boom, all different sizes this time of the year, and all of a sudden, the rod just stops. And you come back, and you see one of them big mouths come, ooh. Good chance we're gonna see that today on my rod.
You can see where Al caught that last fish, but a lot of this stuff actually was really choked up, but all those weeds are dying off now. And this is really just exactly classic bass habitat for this time of the year up on these flats like this.
I was talking about tournaments a little bit earlier. In our area, there's a lot of tournament fishing going on now. And they got, you know, they're multi-species tournaments, which is a good thing. And there's a tournament, there's the Monday nighter, Tuesday nighter, Wednesday nighter, Thursday night, Friday nighter, and then the big ones on Saturday. But yeah, you know, our guys and gals in these areas, they like to really mix it up. They even got ways of tying panfish into the event. And it's been fun to see, like in the last 10 years or so, how many people are getting in to tournament fishing, especially with this high school fishing phenomena. Yeah, you know, and these younger people getting into it, and in our area, and if our state, it really become very, very, very popular, and it's bringing a lot more anglers into the sport. Yeah, you know, and that's a good thing. Now, a little better, a little bit better. Yeah, nice one, Jim.
Better one?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty nice one. Oh, hold it. Well, we poked around in that deeper water for a while. Had to come back to where I can get a bite. The face of the pads. Well, it's got a little bit. Looks like she'd been in a little bit of a battle with a northern somewhere. Huh. Looks like something took her. a snip at it. Nice looking fish, pretty healthy, starting to feed up. This is a fun time of the year on these lakes. You don't know, in the area we live in here where you got such mixed species of fish, you know, you wake up every day, do I go bass fishing? Largemouth, smallmouth, walleye, muskie, crappie, bluegill, cats. Everything is biting here now, everything. Again, that's why I moved to what I consider God country, a place like this. What was the governing factor? Lots of water, lots of diversity, lakes of all sizes. It makes a big difference that, you know, no matter what happens, you can catch some fish weather-wise when you got that kind of stuff around. Shallow lakes, deep lakes, rivers, pits, ponds, got it all.
Too many choices of casts.
Oh, good bass, Jim, good one. Good fish.
Right where it's supposed to be. Oh. Cast and wind.
Cast and wind, cast and wind, cast and wind. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing I got the heavy stuff where I could just flip her up and flip her around. You know, we're talking about regulations. My home state here of Minnesota, like I showed you, has done a lot of things. They did a lot of things to manage our fishery. And I agree with them on a lot of the things that they're doing. They're not afraid to try some things. I know a lot of the anglers get all upset and they says, I can't even follow this stuff. The purpose of it is to make sure that in our state, we got more and bigger fish than we ever did before. That's why all of these things are being worked on. Yeah, you know, the muskies are bigger than we've ever seen. Pike population's got a problem, but that's why we're trying to adjust that. Our crappie and bluegill and perch populations, we're seeing slots and sizes and everything to deal with those situations so we can have more and bigger panfish in our lakes. Our walleye, a lot of our lakes got all kinds of slot limits and regulation. I'm a big fan of slots on walleyes. They need to be adjusted a little bit. Why? Because you catch a lot of big fish. You catch a lot of big fish. We got lakes that are managed for quantity. When you got to manage 10,000 lakes, you got your handful of stuff. And I got to say, overall, as far as the fishing goes, our DNR does a pretty good job. They really do. So I'm really supportive of these management changes, and a lot of them are starting to happen in a lot of the other states as we travel around and see more and more regulations, you know, more catch and release, slot limit change, all good, all good, all good. Love it. And I encourage you to be supportive of these programs too. You know, because of the way I close this show, which is almost always done with some verse and something related to Scripture in the Bible, something that hopefully is inspiring and gets people thinking about God's Word and how important it could be. I get so many emails and letters from people that are hurting. They're dealing with things that they're asking for direction from God. They're dealing with the issues of life. Three main things are the issues of life that none of us are going to hide from. None of us. We're all going to face these issues at some time. They're health issues, they're financial issues, and they're relationship issues. We're all deal with, many of them you know what I'm talking about. Relationship issues can be family, friends, co-workers, people in general. There's people that you have a hard time working with and wish you didn't have to work with them, right? It's true. We're all going to have financial challenges. I don't know anybody that has ever not had a financial challenge or a health issue. So I get lots of these things. And one of the things that I always share with them when I get back to them is how I start my day. And it's a real simple thing. When I first get up in the morning, the first thing that I say when I'm have clear thinking is, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Again, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Those words, and I encourage them, I say this every day. For years and years and years, I've started my mornings like this. And when you think of those words, it sets your thinking up for the day. Again, it's one of those things that it starts getting out of here and here and here. This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. It sets up the day for the right attitude to deal with the challenges in life that we all face somehow, somewhere, sometime. Needed to share that with you. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a good, safe fishing season. We'll see you on the water.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for watching. And if you really like what you see, we got a whole lot more. So check us out at any one of these online outlets.